flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was alive. The president never gave me any deadline.
A great morning, it is, no doubt about that. Welcome to Global Television. This is Global Morning. It's a great Wednesday midweek. It's amazing how time flies these days. They say it's at supersonic speed. I mean, who would have thought this is midweek already? Because just at about the same time in the morning on Monday, we're welcoming you into the work week. But that's apparently 2 days behind us right now. I'm Uyi Agmofregbe. As always, we're pleased to know that you're joining us here on Global Morning. The lady to my left, I'd like her to introduce herself, by the way, but she looks so classy and delectable this morning.
Good morning, I'm Queen Akapa. Of course, we ride on the show together.
Right, it's a two-steering vehicle. You see, we were just talking, Queen and I, a while ago, about people's recklessness on the road, particularly motorists when they drive. Of course, it's not limited to Abuja or exclusive to this city, but because you live here, you tend to want to see it more around here than anywhere else. How people would, of course, run the red lights, commit all sort of traffic infractions and what have you. But beyond the fact that these offenses are committed, and then of course there has to be some booking, whether by the FRSC or some other authority. The very important thing is the risk to which we subject people's lives, especially for commercial vehicles. All right, most of these commercial vehicles always have passengers on. You are approaching an intersection, I mean a point where two roads cross each other, all right? In the case of Nigeria, because of, well, the peculiarity we deal with, it's ideal that you should at least slow down a little, observe the other side of the road and be sure, even when you have the green light in front of you, just to be double sure the other person coming from the other end is not reckless enough to ram into you and wreak havoc and what have you. Because they say in basic driving training that you have to drive 3 vehicles, which is practically not the case. But the message or the lesson is that while you're driving yours, you've got to also be careful about the one behind and the one in front of you and things like that. But whether most of our drivers on the road actually observe these very, seemingly small but very important principle or not, is here to be said.
If they actually went to the driving school
to get a proper training.
They're just trained by their neighbors, or just pick some people just tell you they pick up vehicles and started learning on their own how to drive. It could be as funny as watching YouTube videos on how to drive a car, and these people just mount the
how to engage reverse gear
and mount the road. Because I almost had an accident this morning, and it's as a result of the carelessness of another driver who was approaching an intersection, and instead of being careful enough, I think that's utter carelessness and disregard for his life and that of the people he that has entrusted their lives in his hands. Because how can you be coming at an intersection like that with high speed?
Right.
You're not even slowing down, you're not pausing to take a look, look right, you're wondering, like, who taught these people how to drive? And before you know it, it could have been fatal.
That's what this morning.
This morning could have been a fatal accident, if not for, I don't know, the intervention of God. And this just goes to tell you that, it's December period now. A lot of people are traveling, people are going to be hitting the road, businesses are going to be, people are going to be engaging in businesses like never before because they're trying to round up different transactions. And if the history of festive periods like this, we have more accidents because there are more people on the roads traveling, making trips, long distances, and even short distances. And so we record cases, there are cases of accidents. But this just goes to tell you that as we approach this season, it's a call for drivers to be careful. Don't drink and drive. Commercial drivers want to make quick returns, you know, they want to go on multiple trips a day if the trips are short. And so you see them driving, you know, with the speed of light. Your life is more important. Your life, the life of your family, we understand that you're trying to make ends meet and things are not, you know, as rosy as we would expect. But your life is more important. The family you're trying to feed by making multiple trips a day. If you die, think about it. Who would pick up? Who would, you know, hustle like you're doing now? So make conscious efforts. You see drivers during festive season sleeping on the road because they've been working, you know,
burnt out.
Hours, burnt out. And we have cases of accident, not just for those drivers, but for other people as well, because as a result of their carelessness, people are going to be affected and more lives will be endangered. So let us be careful. And while we're driving, let us not be in a haste. Pause. Because this morning, that driver was in a haste.
Exactly.
And he created traffic because we're almost going to have a collision.
Head on. And then you
head on, but, you know,
okay, from the side. But that again, still would have been very devastating.
Yes, it would have been devastating, very devastating. And, you know, we created a bit of traffic this morning.
Right.
He was in a hurry.
Inconveniencing others.
But he was trying to, you know, maybe he was in a hurry, trying to go somewhere, and with that speed. But because of what happened, he had to pause.
He was stuck.
He had to stop. So where are you running to? Where are you rushing to? If something happens now, you're going to be stuck there.
I think for a motorist, for example, you always have options. Most times, two options, really. The option of asking yourself, should I wait and observe at this intersection point for maybe 5-10 seconds? Should I observe this red light for 2-3 minutes? Or should I take the risk of just driving through, waltzing through like a mosquito at night, having a field day or something? Because in the end, what matters is that you get to your destination safe and sound. And it's interesting how that some persons really, Queen, are not really beating any deadline. They don't have anything pressing they are going to catch up with. But I don't know, maybe for the fun of just being speedy, and you see them driving. These things are not Hollywood stunts. These are people's lives we're talking about. These are real issues. I was just sharing with Queen a while ago too about how that this morning I saw a very nasty accident around the central area here. Between Costaris and Church Gates. How that a utility truck was just turned on its head. All right, and then a micro car that it had rammed into was damaged. In fact, you see the micro vehicle, you're asking yourself, is it possible the driver survived this accident? It happened just a few minutes before 7 today. This is the 6th day in the month of November 2024. So the point being made here is that we must drive to stay alive. As of today, we understand in light of the Ember Month campaign, Federal Road Safety Corps has deployed thousands of its men and officers across this country just to enlighten road users, whether you're a pedestrian or a motorist, about what your responsibility is, what your right is, and how to behave properly while you're on the road. Fact of the matter is, we may not be able to erase altogether, as it were, accidents on our roads, yes, but we can minimize the carnage. We can drastically minimize the chances, the odds of even getting involved in an accident in the first instance. The only thing is, Queen has to drive and be responsible. We has to drive and be responsible. And if we all do that, you'll be shocked what the results will be at the end of the day. But in all, let's understand that this is about human life. And speaking of human lives, yesterday the president, we are now made to understand by the vice president, Kashif Shettima, brought a human face to the trial of several young people, now popularly referred to as minors, whom had been granted some sort of pardon. But what we understand is that the Office of the Attorney General, the direction of the President, had ordered that the case against them be withdrawn. And yesterday, Justice Obiora Igwatu had actually ordered that it should be withdrawn. And in any case, we understand those children had been at the villa yesterday. The Vice President spoke with them. Some of the governors were on the ground, particularly Kaduna and Kano State governors, to take their own people home, because according to the Vice President, the governors will have to come take these young children back home, and then the issue of rehabilitation for them as well. In the meantime, we got cracked up yesterday at work, myself and a few colleagues, given the fact that senior lawyer Femi Falana is now saying that if those children are not sent to school, their education is not made a priority, that he'll be going to court against both President Bola Tinubu and the federal government. Whether that is justiciable, as lawyers would say, in light of our Constitution 1999 as amended, I'm not so sure, but Falana has spoken.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. For me, I think the angle is I don't want us to go into the rigorous analysis of what led to the reason the children were arrested and ultimately arraigned in courts and all of that. But let's look at the fact that we have seen cases like this before. They come to the villa, they meet with the president's wife, that's the first lady, they meet with the president, they go to their various states, they meet with their governors. And we don't get to hear anything afterwards about what has happened to their education, their health, their welfare, and what have you.
And now, you are saying that you're going to, take the president to court and all that for their education. I just think that these children now that were, thankfully they've been asked to be released and all that, they represent a greater section of other children who are out there, who are deprived basic education, deprived, welfare, well-being. These children possibly may even be homeless. Maybe children from the streets.
Very possible.
Perhaps in the heat of the protests and all that, were involved and all that, they were just whisked away alongside other people and were kept in custody for that long and malnourished and all that. I mean, just a very pitiable. When I saw those children, I almost shed tears. In fact, I did. The condition and all that. But if you look at it wide in a broader perspective, there are many of them out there also who are like these children.
Very well.
It's just sad that an institution like this would harbor these children for that long, and now we're talking about the education of these children. How far, how well, how are we going to let's not just do eye service, let me put it that way. Let's not just say it for the fact that
for the media
come to, if the media had not taken this up, if this had not come to the knowledge of Nigerians, would we be talking about the welfare of these children as Femi Falana is talking about it? Well, we hope that if he considers that a worthy cause, we hope that he pursues it and pursues it to the end.
All right, I think that's a brilliant thing to say, but more importantly, going forward, the issues that were raised on account of that end bad governance protest in August, I mean, for a 10-day period, should also not be swept under the carpet because start by saying with the hashtag end hunger. All right, and then we moved on to bad governance. But we need to deal with hunger. That's fundamental. It goes without saying. Let's take a quick break now, everyone. When we return, we'll look at the papers for you and bring you big headlines. Is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Many thanks for staying with us. Well, it's time for us to look at the front pages of the papers for you. And this morning, we have quite a number of stories on the front pages of the papers. And we're looking at the Punch this morning. Stories on the Punch. On the front page of the Punch newspaper right here, we have a big story. It says, nationwide blackout as grid suffers 10th collapse in 2024. Rider says generation drops to 0 megawatts. 22 Gencos affected nationwide. Partial power in Southwest. Yesterday I had the longest blackout so far because I happened to be on band A. But when I got back home from the office yesterday, I discovered that there was no.
That was the one for rich Nigerians now.
I really don't think at this point there's anyone for, so I discovered there was no light, and then for hours, that's unusual because there's always light. And then I saw somewhere online that power grid collapsed again for the 3rd time. But somewhere, towards the middle of the night, they brought the light. We had power again, somewhere around 11 or 10.
That was last night.
That was last night. So from 6 p.m., I think there was no light until somewhere around 11. So I was, when I saw that news, when there was blackout, I was wondering, how long is this going to be again? But they somehow brought the light back again. So I don't know if this is also...
Was that light this morning when you left the house?
Light, all through the night.
So maybe you're restoring it in bits, because I didn't have light the whole night. That sort of thing. But you see, we brought a gentleman here at the time, Mr. Idris Mohammed, himself a veteran in the past sector, risen to the executive level, leadership and what have you. And he said many things on Big Talk. That was last week. And just yesterday I reached out again to say some of the issues I raised on your program, are being vindicated. And really, we see all of those elements basically playing out right now. Nobody takes us seriously unless we want to be serious. We know, yes, the excuses are always around banditry, insecurity, vandalism, and what have you. The military have been doing their own bits now. We understand they're providing cover, protection for the guys who are working on the ground, on the grid, to ensure that insecurity does not become a problem or a challenge for them. But everybody has got to do their bits. And then, of course, we expect that Chief Adebayo Adelabu, being Minister of Power, would also provide the critically needed leadership at this point.
Absolutely. Above the nameplates, we have eyes on swing states as Harris, Trump battle for U.S. presidency. And also we have the regulation not licensed to blend quality products, according to Dangote, low quality products. The regulation not licensed to blend low quality products, Dangote here. And then we have a picture of the children, the minors that were that have been apprehended for a while now, that are now released. It says, and underneath it we have over 300 billion naira lost in protest. Shetima tells released hungry minors. Okay, over 300 billion naira lost in protest. Shetima tells released hungry minors. I want to understand why. Okay, maybe the vice president is trying to make them see how much
the country had lost, the kind of damage the protest did.
Yeah. And on the other hand, while we saw pictures of the minors online, on the news as well, and it's saddening to discover that they were malnourished and all that. I went through the comment section as usual, and there were different line of thoughts. They were like, these children may be minors, but when you see them with guns, when you see them with ammunitions and all that, you don't.
You can't match their age with the kind of arms that they carry.
To a whole lot that you cannot match. We have a fraction of people who are sympathetic and empathetic and feel these children. We have the other people who are saying that these people may be minors in age, but the exposure and the kind of crimes they commit and they're being used to perpetrate is enormous. Well, that's about that story, and I think these are the stories we have. We have stakeholders hail reversal of 18 years policy for varsity admissions. And then we have Lagos driver flees after seeing LASMA officers on fire. After setting, I beg your pardon, Lagos drivers flees after setting LASMA officer on fire. Whoa, this is terrible. Sometimes I wonder, with some kind of acts that are being perpetrated, I'm wondering, where do these people get their guts from?
What pushes them?
What pushes them? At what point do you think that it's normal, particularly with the girl that made pepper soup and killed five
ex-boyfriend and his 4 friends?
And his 4 friends. At what point do we decide that no matter what it is, I'm going to take a life, or I'm going to I'm going to pay back, and it has to be that person's life,
right?
And I'm wondering, how did we get here? Lastly, we have sex tapes. Equatorial Guinea installs CCTV in offices and suspends officials. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Next point of call now would be Daily Trust.
Okay, let's turn to the Daily Trust here for you. Big story right on the front page. U.S. politics, it says, Harris Trump, Americans await outcome. This is what you might call the morning after. 3 writers here for you. Whoever wins is set to make history. Time to abolish electoral college system. Emergence of any of them won't have impact on Nigeria. Ex-ambassador. Boko Haram terrorists flee into Borno villages as Chadian troops intensify onslaughts. Global television, by the way, will be following this U.S. election and the outcome for you. As of yesterday, dinner time in Nigeria, it was neck and neck between Harris and the other gentleman, Trump. But then it became a knife-edge kind of race. Today is the day after. Let's see what will happen with popular votes and ultimately electoral college. That's all we have for you from the Daily Trust this morning.
Well, let's look at other papers. We have The Nation right here. Big story on The Nation says, economy gradually coming out of challenges, says Tinubu. And then we have the writer that says, debt servicing down to 65% of revenue. Be focused, President tells new ministers. EFCC arrests Bukowa over alleged 1.3 trillion naira fraud. And then we have right here, varsity teachers taken out of public service payroll system. Owando posts 2 trillion naira turnover in first half 2024. Oni Olubon begins moves to reconcile Yoruba Obas. And underneath the big story here, we have President orders release of minors charged with treason. Rider says Attorney General takes over prosecution of orders from police. Lastly, on The Nation, we have appeal courts quashes conviction of ex-CJN Walter Onoke. You find that story on page 3 of the Nation, I beg your pardon, The Nation newspaper. Well, these are the stories we have right here. Let's look at The Guardian.
Up next, The Guardian, the Star story tells us cash and carry. That's the kicker. Public engagements, debate fading as votes buying rules polls. All of those details await you on page 6 of today's issue of The Guardian newspaper. Has pictures of a couple of gentlemen there, former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. Well, his predecessor as well, now national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Omar Ganduje, and then you have the embattled, chairman of the PDP, that's the lead opposition party in the country, Mr. Damagu, and then the chairman of the Labour Party, Barrister Abure. But let's look at a few more headlines from the right corner of the front page of The Guardian. 16-year-olds now eligible for tertiary education as FG reverses age policy. That announcement has been welcomed by stakeholders and even parents and guardians across this country. Rising energy demand, vandalism affecting grid stability, say experts. Sokoto LG chair alleges 1 million naira youth inducement from new terrorist group. You know, this story is very concerning. Saw it yesterday. We even used it on our news. How that a local government chairman in Sokoto State is now saying that there's a terrorist group that came from around Chad, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, now inducing young people, youth in particular, with 1 million naira. So I'm wondering if you have young people who probably have graduated for a couple of years, have not had a job, or someone who earns 50,000, who knows, worse still, less than that a month, and then you dangle 50,000 naira like a carrot in front of them. I'm not so sure if they have the resilience and tenacity to not want to jump at it. All right, so if the allegation by this local government chairman is anything to go by, it means there's big trouble that needs to be tackled as quickly as possible. And this could be, who knows, some foreign influence, all right, that is trying to exploit certain weaknesses in our system. Minors freed on humanitarian conditions, says FG, as NAPPS offers scholarships. Deregulation not licensed to blend off-spec products, says Dangote. Of course, the man has made allegations as to how that if there is any premium motor spirits brand cheaper than his, that is the one from the Dangote refinery, is going to be fake and substandard. Some people have said, well, he's saying all of that just so he can maintain or enjoy some sort of monopoly. But Dangote's argument is that you can't say because the sector has been deregulated, so you're going to use that as a basis or license to begin to blend substandard products. FBI warns of disinformation as Trump gives condition to concede poll. CJ laments rising vulnerability of Nigerians, firms to cyber attacks. So what are we going to do after lamentation? And then at the foot of the page, the last headline here reads, FG pledges to cushion hardship, boosts MSMEs. I'm sure Nigerians cannot wait to see that happen. All right, that's what we have from the Guardian newspaper. Time to flip over to the Vanguard.
Yeah, on the Vanguard right here, big story, and bad governance. Why we released minors, according to the federal government. And then we have a couple of riders there. It says drops case against 37 minors and 82 others as court strikes out charge. And also we have minors facing trial released on compassionate ground, according to Shetima. And then minors will be reintegrated, according to Governor Yusuf here. And well, these are the stories we have right here as regards the minors. And then we have action. I beg your pardon. Again, national grid collapses 4 times in 24 days. And U.S. presidential poll, Harris, Trump, upbeat about chances in keen race. We have right here, deregulation not licensed to blend off spec products. That's low quality products, according to Dangote. Dangote tells Pinnacle Oil. And then why we fortified illicit arms, pose security threats, according to NSA. And then we have right here, federal government reverses 18-year admission benchmark in tertiary institutions. That's better. And then Tinubu decorates acting Chief of Army Staff Oluyede with new rank. And then we have protesters storm National Assembly over hardship. And then why telecoms infrastructure must be protected, according to NCC and NJI there. What other stories do we have right here? Ondo Goba. Ajayi floor Ayedatewa in debate. And this is attributed to the PDP campaign council. And then we have sports here. Super Falcons to tackle Francis Les Blesses. And I don't know, I'm struggling to see that headline there. But we have quite a number of stories on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. You can pick it up to look at these stories. Up next, let's look at the Daily Times full view.
We'll start from the headline above the nameplates. 7th NDIS, President Tinubu calls for global partnerships to drive national development. Deregulation, not a license to blend off-spec products, jeopardize national interest, Dangote tells Pinnacle Oil. Niger Delta youth threat to protest in Abuja, demand removal of NDDC's MD. FG reverses 18-year admission age for tertiary institutions. National grid collapses again as TCN battles to restore power. Well, they restored to Queen already, and let's hope that happens for every other Nigerian.
I'm sure they've restored to you right now.
Well, we wait to find out. A Sokoto government raises alarm over infiltration of new terror group Laku Rawas. Sect currently operational in 5 local government areas. That's in Sokoto State. You need no one to tell you that's a very disturbing development. 1 million is a whole lot of money in Nigeria right now, just for perspectives. All right. HOR queries Health Ministry over 10 billion PPP program concession agreement. LASTMA officer sets ablaze while discharging official duties. We understand it was actually the driver of that commercial vehicle and his conductor who had done this out of anger. But you see, while people have the right to be angry, while it is natural impulse or for some people instinct to be angry, the important thing is we must take responsibility for the actions that we take on account of anger. You know, I've heard people say things like, you don't know me, oh, my anger is very crazy.
It shouldn't be a thing to be proud of.
Of course, we had seen a former minister in this country say that he was on short fuse, all right, and we know how short, right, his level of credence and acceptability has become on account of that singular incident that was sporadic. You see, we must be mature enough, not just in age, but in how we manage our emotions. It's not everything you say at every point to everybody. There are things you should say to one person that you shouldn't say to another. There are circumstances other which the best thing to do, the honorable and wise thing to do is to be quiet. You see, but when we decide to say we want to take the laws into our hands, because you see some people say, you know, these LASTMA people, their own is too much in this Lagos and blah, 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 blah. First of all, LASTMA is Lagos state government, whether you like it or not, that's what it is. All right, if you have an issue with them, I'm sure there are multiple ways to address them. If you need to seek redress, there are options to go about that as well. But you and your conductor collaborating to set a LASTMA officer ablaze. We understand yesterday the man had been rushed to a hospital. He was in critical condition. What do you tell the government? What do you tell his family?
You'll be getting into bigger trouble.
Exactly. Now we hear you are fleeing. If government means to get you, my brother, I'm not so sure how much of fleeing you really can do. But in all of this, beyond how much of liability you carry in the eye of the law, it must be a lesson for the rest of us that you don't just fly off the handle, you know, get temperamental because you are angry, because you feel offended. Otherwise, you'll be creating more problems than you think you're trying to solve. All right, what more do we have? Okay, I think that'll be all we have here. Let's turn to the Nigerian News Direct, our next port of call.
Yeah, the Nigerian News Direct. Just before I take the headlines on the Nigerian News Direct, I just want to comment on the issue of anger, like you mentioned. We should be able to manage our emotions. Anger management should be something that we take seriously, because when you look at it on the long run, or in the long run rather, you see that you get into bigger troubles, you know, way more trouble than what you're trying to dismiss or discharge at that point in time. Take, for instance, this driver who has set a LASTMA official ablaze, and he's fleeing right now. Apparently, he can't do business. He cannot, you know, be caught up in social gatherings. And, you know, he's on the hideout right now, and he will definitely be apprehended. And when he's apprehended, he'll be thrown behind bars. And so he has succeeded in putting, you know, more troubles for himself and his family. And I want to also bring the case of that girl who must have, you know, been hurt. The young girl who is, I think they said she's 18 years, not even up to 20 years, who was, you know, hurt by her ex-boyfriend and decided to, because that's anger as well. You know, that's pain, hurt.
The one in Edo?
In Edo State.
We even hear 16 from some reports, yeah.
Yes. So you can imagine. And, you know, that's anger. So if you don't put it into perspective, you will end up endangering yourself the more and getting into, more complicated situations. So we should learn. We should be able to think beyond temporary, beyond now. I know that some of these officials can really get on your nerves. We've had cases where we've seen police brutality, police harassing people on the road, even where you have the complete documents, your vitals, for being on the road, you are still harassed, but the right thing to do is, at that point in time, let's not take sporadic, decisions that would, sometimes it could be that frustrating, You see, somebody say, how can we continue to be, but let it not be with you. Do not be the example that other people have to talk about, or
bad example,
at to the point where you have to kill another person or do something drastic, pick up something, bottles or something, hit somebody. We've had cases where, as a result of anger, people are fighting, young girls are fighting, and maybe the other person is wrong, but that anger that you cannot manage at that point in time, you pick up something, we've had cases, I've had a neighbor who has been thrown behind bars because of a fight that she was not even at fault, but she had the next person died, and so she young lady, promising, and then she had to be locked up in prison because of that act, just because. So you're not a murderer. So in the long run, think about the long run. Think about what happens, after now. This is just, I don't know, I just felt a need to talk about that because
it's quite painful.
Now let's look at the Nigerian News Direct for you. Big story here says, end bad governance. Kano government assures reintegration of 73 released minors as court strikes out treason charges. Rada says Tinubu's decision to release protesters driven by compassion. According to Vice President Shatima. And then we have Aliyu Dume calls for compensation for wrongfully arrested minors, not rehabilitation. And then we have above the nameplate, National Grid experiences partial collapse as Transmission Company of Nigeria shows of swift repairs. Lagos empowers 1,200 artisans with work tools in upskilling program. Education Minister reverses 18-year age limit for tertiary institutions. And then we have the regulation, not a license to blend off-spec products and jeopardize national interest. Dangote replies Pinnacle Oil. Well, these are the stories we have. And then we have UBA introduces SME card to deepen customer value and empower entrepreneurs. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, let's turn to the Leadership newspaper, beginning with two headlines above the nameplate. One here with the picture of the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, says 28 die in Niger bandit attack, Imo accident. FG reverses 18-year entry age for varsity. A forex crisis, man advocates patronage of local products. Court dismisses treason charges against protesters. And Star Story reads, U.S. election, the world waits with bated breath for poll results. Trump-Harris tied amid high voter turnouts, 82 million votes cast via mail. How election rules in key states may delay results. All of these very interesting details await you on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. What's more, 14.3 million people in Nigeria are drug users. That's according to the federal government. That number doesn't look good. It says 14.3 million people in Nigeria are drug users. Court stops CBN and others from withholding Kano LG funds. National Grid collapses 9th time in 10 months. That's almost one on the average every month. Bad record. We are fully prepared for Ondo election, INEC. Besides, INEC has said that it has learned its lesson from, Edo State. But then let's look at the New Telegraph and bring you big headlines from there.
Yeah, on the front page of the New Telegraph, we have big story here. Nigeria plunged into darkness again as national grid collapses fourth time within a month. Rider says TCN blames incident on line trippings. And then FCCPC to sanction airing discos for billing inaccuracies and inadequate customer care. Then we have right here, citizens without insurance access to get federal government's financial protection. Tinubu decorates acting Chief of Army Staff Oluyede with new rank. Why fortified illicit arms pose security threats? There, Ribadu there. And then we have local government autonomy. Governor Sule scraps joint account in compliance with Supreme Court judgment, presents 156.6 billion naira 2024 supplementary budget assembly. And then we have service disruptions. CBN orders banks to get approval before upgrading systems. And right here we have end bad governance protests, like we see in other papers. Court terminates treason charges against protesters as federal government withdraws. The riders, what are the riders? Go, be responsible citizens. Tinubu tells pardon suspects. Laments over 300 billion naira lost to protests. And then we'll probe how minors were treated in police detention. Egbeto could right there. And then we have private school owners offer scholarships to release minors. I think that's a step in the right direction, and it's laudable. And then we also have here, Chevron unveils plans to increase crude exploration in Nigeria. Okowa, PDP demands total overhaul reform of EFCC. And then local government poll, Abia Labour Party blames electoral loss on party crisis. Sex scandal, Equatorial Guinea restricts WhatsApp. And then corruption, Zimbabwe bans police from using mobile phones on duty. And then federal government reverses 18-year age limit for varsity admission to 16 years. These are the stories we have on the front page of the New Telegraph.
All right, let's look at the Nigerian Tribune, our last paper on the show this morning. We begin with the Star story. It says FG reverses 18-year age limits for admission into tertiary institutions. The writer says Minister hints on review of national education policy, warns tertiary governing councils against flouting extant laws. What more do we have? Last mile officers set ablaze in Lagos. Oyebanji appoints Justice Ogumoye as acting Chief Judge. Recall that the former Chief Judge had died just this week, and on a very sad note. I am satisfied with my achievements in 8 years. Obaseki has also said that he doesn't want to be the governor who is remembered for the many fights that he had. So he would rather be remembered as one who has left a mark. All right. Well, what more do we have from here? Tinubu promotes acting Chief of Army Staff Oluyede to Lieutenant General. Why Tinubu's economic policy is more workable than Atiku's or mockery. End bad governance protest. Court strikes out treason charges against minors. IGP orders probe into their welfare in detention. Why Tinubu ordered their release. Shetima. Falana advises presidents to enroll them in schools. Otherwise, he says he would go to court against the federal government. FG moves to curtail negative net assets of 39 trillion naira. That's headline has a picture of Wale Edo, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. The writer tells us to enforce compliance, action, or sanction airing MDAs, MOFT to register all FG's assets. And then top right corner has a headline with a picture of US President Joe Biden. fear of post-election unrest in the United States as tensions rise. Of course, across the world, this is the biggest event on the planet right now, and fingers are crossed, hoping, to get those results in today and the winner ultimately announced. Those are the papers that we have for you, and we're taking the break. At top of the hour, we will bring you Global AM News.
Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks,
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Global AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nightcomsat. President Bola Tinubu has decorated the acting chief of army staff, Olufemi Oluyede, as Lieutenant General. The short ceremony took place in the President's office complex at the State House, Abuja. Tinubu had appointed Oluyede as the acting chief of army staff last Wednesday, even as his predecessor, Taoreed Lagbaja, remains indisposed for weeks. Vice President Kashim Shettima has advised young Nigerian men not to allow themselves to be used to perpetrate violence and destroy public and private properties. Speaking at the presidential villa Abuja while receiving the miners that participated in the protest following their release after President Bola Tinubu's order, Shettima says mainly private and public property suffered losses during the protest. He says despite evidence against the miners, President Tinubu directed their release because he is a caring leader. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has ordered Edo State Security Network to resume operations amid escalating insecurity in the state, a directive that could put him at odds with the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun, who had previously suspended the vigilante group ahead of the state's September 21st election. In a statement issued by the State Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Chris Nehikare, says the governor made the directive after reviewing a surge in violent crimes, particularly homicides, during a State Security Council meeting. Nehikare says the directive after the State Security Council meeting, during which the council reviewed the recent rise in homicides and other issues. The miners arrested and detained over their involvement in the End Bad Governance protest have arrived at the presidential villa, Abuja, to meet with Vice President Kashim Shettima, as he is expected to hand them over to their respective governors, who are expected to facilitate their movement from Abuja to their respective states. Governor of Kaduna, Uba Sani, and Kano, Abba Yusuf, were on ground at the presidential villa, alongside Ministers of Education, Tunji Alausa, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Netanwe Yiwada, and Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal. Speaking at the press briefing in Lagos, the chairman of the association, Abdul Mumin Kundak, says the awards would cover primary and secondary education. Meanwhile, the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, NAPS, has offered scholarships to the minors that were detained for participating in the End Bad Governance. Minister of Education, Dr. Morufu Olatunji Alausa, has reversed his predecessor's policy of 18 years as entry age for university admission. The policy, initiated by Professor Tahi Maman, former Minister of Education, had generated controversy. Briefing journalists upon assumption of office, Alausa says the policy was detrimental to the federal government's efforts to reduce the number of out-of-school children in the country. The new minister also says going forward, Nigeria's education system will be 80% practical and 20% classroom and theoretical. The chairman, Tangaza Local Government Area of Sokoto State, Alhaji Isa Salihu Kalenjani, has raised alarm over a foreign-based armed religious group occupying a forest across 5 local government areas of the state. Speaking to newsmen, Kalenjani says that members of the group had been preaching and imposing some laws in the neighboring villages, as well as offering 1 million naira to youths for membership. The group, locally known as Lakurawa, was said to have migrated from Libya, Mali and Niger Republic, and camped at Sauni Forest, which stretches up to Niger Republic. There was an uneasy calm in Ekiti State Judiciary Headquarters in Ado-Ekiti following the death of the State Chief Judge, Justice Oyewole Adeyeye, who was inaugurated as the Ekiti State Chief Judge on October 11, 2021, passed away on Monday at age 64. Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji also expressed condolences on Adeyeye's demise. Oyebanji, in a statement by his special advisor on media, Yinka Oyebode, described Adeyeye's death as heart-rending and a colossal loss for the state. Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, has signed into law the supplementary budget for 2024 to meet the new financial commitment of the state government. The supplementary budget of 96,780,100,000 naira, as approved by the State House of Assembly, was signed by the governor at the Executive Council chambers of the governor's office in Akure, Ondo State capital. Global Television brings you details.
Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa says the supplementary budget captures the payment of the new minimum wage of 73,000 naira recently approved for workers, as well as the salaries of newly recruited workers across various sectors. He says the supplementary budget reflects the determination of his administration to cater for the welfare of workers and the overall development of the state.
Supplementary bill for 2024 budget, which is appropriation bill that has become law now, supplement to the existing appropriation that we have because of the times that we are in, and also because of other events that's taking place in the course of the year, one of which is the minimum wage that has to be taken care of in the appropriation bill, and other expenditures that were not envisaged at the beginning of the year, that the trend or the happenings in the country are so affected.
Speaking at the event, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, retired Honorable Olamide Oladiji, applauds the leadership style of the governor and the various milestones he has achieved since assumption of office.
They will achieve the implementation. There was need to amend the year 2024 appropriation law to accommodate the minimum wage and other developmental projects across the state. This feat is not unconnected to the desire of the legislation to continually prioritize the welfare of the good people of Ondo State in benefiting and enjoying the dividend of democracy.
The governor also signed into law The bill, providing for the expansion of the board of the Ondo State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission and the amendment of the Ondo State House of Assembly Service Commission law, saying the new law will ensure inclusivity and better equitable representation from the mandate areas.
The Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, has assured civil servants in the state that despite the financial challenges, his administration will never consider downsizing the workforce. He made this assertion during the 2024 public service lecture held at the International Center for Culture and Events, the Dome in Akure, Ondo State capital. Uyi Agbomofwegbe has details.
Governor Aiyedatiwa acknowledged the vital role the public service plays in national development, particularly in African countries. He stated that the public service needs to adapt and innovate to meet modern challenges, stating that the time has come for the service to be more proactive, innovative, dynamic, and technology-driven. He stated that the capacity of the institutions and their operators must be enhanced for effective and efficient service delivery.
Let me assure you that our commitment to prompt and regular payment of salaries, allowances, and pensions is sacrosanct. I want to assure you that even with the financial burden that all of these may attract, our administration will never, ever contemplate downsizing the workforce.
The governor also commended public servants for their dedication and cooperation over the past 10 months of his administration. He urged public servants to prioritize resource generation and management, advising them to block financial leakages and discourage frivolous expenditures.
In all honesty, the public service requires to be rejigged and equipped to upscale its roles and processes to meet the trends of the best work practices in public administration.
Earlier, the head of service, Bayo Philip, stressed the essential role of the public service in fostering forward-thinking governance and highlighted the administration's commitment to regular salary payments, pensions, and the provision of 2024 leave bonuses. He noted that this year's celebration emphasized the importance of public service in shaping a sustainable future for Ondo State.
We will strive at all times to discharge our responsibilities to facilitate the accomplishment of the policy focus of this administration. We will live up to the demands of our new mantra. Don't deliver short, don't deliver.
The governor further reiterated his administration's commitment to continue to prioritize the welfare of public servants, even in the midst of other financial demands. Uyi Agbomofwegbe reporting for Global Television News.
The Zamfara state government has provided financial aid to students stranded at the Cyprus International University. The State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Wadatao Madawaki, speaking at a press conference in Abuja, expressed concern over the difficulties faced by the students. He highlighted the challenges the students encountered, emphasizing the need for transparency and accountability. Madawaki says 93 Zamfara indigents were sponsored to Cyprus International University by the previous administration led by former Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale to study various courses in 2020, noting that the sponsorship process was marred by dishonesty and outright selfishness. Ondo State's governor and the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate Lucky Aiyedatiwa says his administration will prevent cattle rustling and insecurity in the state to enable farmers go to farm. Governor Aiyedatiwa made this known during the campaign tour to Akure North local government area. Kike Lomo-Okere has the rest of the story.
One common issue raised by all traditional rulers of Ondo State during the governor's visit to Akure North to solicit their support in the upcoming gubernatorial election is insecurity. At Iluabu community, Governor Aiyedatiwa says his administration will strengthen the operations of Amotekun to check the issues of insecurity and kidnapping on the farmlands.
Measures have been put in place already to prevent this ravaging by cattle through our Motekun, and we are strengthening their operations the more, so that the issue of farm produce being ravaged or consumed by cattle will be the theme of the park.
It therefore warns any criminal element found wanting will face the wrath of the law.
But we try as much as possible in our state to make sure that crime rate is reduced considerably, and in case there's anyone, the security agents will be able to make arrest and prosecute whoever is found wanting.
The traditional rulers have all chewed their weight behind All Progressive Congress governorship aspirants, promising that the forthcoming election will be free and fair. From Akure, Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The federal government, donor agencies and private individuals have been urged to extend same priority attention to the Niger Delta as it gave to Borno State in the wake of recent flood disaster in the state. Former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Yekini Nabena, made the call in a statement issued in Abuja. He says the region urgently requires such attention due to ongoing devastating effects of flooding, which has destroyed lives and livelihoods. Nabena specifically appealed to the new Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Nentawe Yiwata, and agencies like the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, the National Commission for Refugees, among others, to not close their eyes against the ongoing disaster in the Niger Delta region. The Christian Association of Nigeria, Ondo State Chapter, has urged the governor and the governorship candidate of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, to promote justice, equity, and fairness in all aspects of his governance in the state. The president of the association, Reverend Father Olorunfemi Ologunwa, made the call at a church service to pray for peaceful conduct of Ondo State governorship election. Kikelomo Okere brings us details.
Speaking at the event, the President, Christian Association of Nigeria, Ondo State Chapter, Olorunfemi Ologunwa, urged the governor and the governorship aspirants of All Progressive Congress to address the need of the marginalized and vulnerable people. The clergy further urged the governor to foster economic development, which will create job opportunities and improve living standards.
We, all of us, we urge you, as we aspire for this enviable position in the state, to continue to uphold the principles of integrity, the principles of justice, the principles of compassion.
The clergy further urged the governor to strive and maintain harmony among all citizens, regardless of their religion belief.
As the position you are seeking to acquire, it's not only to govern, just as you said, and you said you promised God. Thank you very much. But to serve the people, ensuring their well-being and prosperity.
In his response, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa pleaded with the brethren to continue to pray and support him in his journey of governing the state.
I'm pleading with my brethren in the Lord, our leaders, church leaders, to continue to pray, to pray for us, to support us in our journey in governing this state, and now that we're also going to election.
The Christian Association of Nigeria Ondo State Chapter reiterated their commitment to pray for leaders who prioritize the welfare of their people. From Akure, Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Members of the Congress of University Academics, CONUA, have called on the federal government to pay their withheld 3.5-month salaries, third-party deductions, and earned academic allowances. The Congress, in a statement by the National President, Dr. Niyi Sumonu, also says the promotion arrears of some members have lingered for over 7 years and that the issue should be looked into. The body also frowned at the exclusion of its members from from the committee that will renegotiate the 2009 agreement university workers entered into with the government. You're watching the Global AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When the AM News returns, imported rice price jumps by 114%. Details of this, as well as foreign and sports stories, coming right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the AM News. In business, the average price of imported high-quality rice sold loose has surged by 144.77% year-on-year as the federal government delays implementing its duty-free food policy. This is according to the Selected Food Prices report from the National Bureau of Statistics. In July 2024, the federal government announced a 150-day duty-free import window for food commodities as it stepped up efforts to tackle rising inflation, which had impoverished many Nigerians. President of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, Billy Gillis-Harry, says oil marketers have clarified that they are not opposed to Dangote refinery and are open to purchasing refined premium motor spirit from the facility. Gillis-Harry made the clarification in an interview with journalists, stating that oil marketers would buy products from the refinery if all market conditions were properly negotiated and agreed upon. He also mentioned that marketers plan to meet with Dangote Refinery to solidify discussions and establish the groundwork for a cooperative working relationship. On the foreign scene, Donald Trump feels very confident about winning back the White House, the Republicans say, after casting his Election Day ballot in Florida in one of the most contentious U.S. elections in decades. Trump told reporters at a voting facility in West Palm Beach that he feels confident, saying he believes he ran a great campaign against his Democratic rival, Kamala Harris. Well, now, the government of Equatorial Guinea has restricted its citizens from downloading and sharing multimedia files using mobile data on WhatsApp. This decision was followed by the guidelines that the country's government gave to telecommunications operators when it urged them to implement measures to restrict access to inappropriate content. This is coming after the Director General, National Financial Investigation Agency in Equatorial Guinea, Baltasar Ngoga, was arrested for allegedly recording over 400 sex tapes of the wives of notable people in the country. The UK Health Security Agency has confirmed 2 additional cases of clade 2 monkeypox, bringing the total number of cases in the country to 3. These new infections have been traced to household contacts of the initial case, emphasizing the virus's potential for rapid spread in close contact environments, and both patients are currently receiving specialist care in London. Despite these developments, health officials are maintaining that the overall risk to the general UK population remains low. A new UK-wide law aimed at creating the first smoke-free generation will be introduced in Parliament as part of a world-leading ban. The proposals comes after New Zealand revoked plans to introduce a so-called generational smoking ban that would have stopped sales of tobacco to anyone born after 2008. Health Secretary Wes Streeton says this is a groundbreaking piece of public health legislation, which means that the UK is creating the first ever smoke-free generation, so children growing up will never legally be able to buy cigarettes. The The UK's Tobacco and Vapes Bill will prevent anyone born after January 1st, 2009 from legally smoking by gradually raising the age at which tobacco can be bought. In sports, Nigeria's sprint sensation Favour Ofili has been awarded $5,000 in compensation for the disappointment and emotional distress she experienced due to the failure of the Athletics Federation AFN officials to register her for 100 meters event at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. This was contained in the published report of the investigative committee that was set up by the immediate past Minister of Sports, Senator John Eno, on the negative exposures regarding Nigeria at the Paris Olympics. Former Real Madrid striker Karim Benzema believes Kylian Mbappe must adapt to playing as a central striker in the Spanish capital, as he cannot displace Vinicius Junior on the left wing. Mbappe completed a dream move to Madrid this summer after the end of his Paris Saint-Germain contract, but has not yet hit top form under Carlo Ancelotti. The coach has kept Brazil international Vinicius in his preferred position on the wing and has placed Mbappe, who favors playing on the left, in the center. Benzema told the Spanish television show that Mbappe is not a central striker, even with the national team, as every time he plays as a number 9, he does not feel comfortable because it's not his natural position. Well, that's it on the Global AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
As it stands today, it is obvious, I mean, it goes without saying that all eyes across the world